So in this chapter, we're going to try to estimate the economic value of natural resources or ecosystem services. Okay? Now, let's have some definition. When we say economic value, we mean that it is the value or the worth of a good that can be expressed in monetary terms. And what that really means is that it's measurable. Okay, money is just a ledger. Right? It's a ledger. It's like a ruler. Right? You can measure. You can measure things. So if things have economic value, it just means that we can apply a metric to it. Now for resources, obviously there are inherent values, meaning that any value, the values that cannot be measured. All right. So think your mother's love. Right? How do you measure that? Okay? And whose mother loved them more? It has no, what economists would say, no ordinal property, right? You cannot rank them. You cannot rank, right? One is higher than the other, but nonetheless, these things has value. Okay, so if we're going to price things, then we will focus on things that we can measure, right? Things that we can measure. Okay, things that we cannot measure, then we will not be dealing with them here because, well, we cannot price them. Okay. All right. So for total economic value, right, there are two types: use value and non-use value. Use value just means you personally are benefiting from it. Right? Non-use value are you're not benefiting, or you personally are not benefiting from it. Right? Okay. Under use value, there's direct use and indirect use. Direct use is, as it sounds, you are using that resource directly. So for example, let's think about a rainforest, right? Some direct use value example, timber. You can go in the forest and get timber, right? Or you can go in and collect bugs. You can go in and collect. You can get plants or get medicine from it, right? Or you can just go hiking, right? You can use the forest, right? Or you use the forest for hiking purposes, hiking and camping, or you can go hunting. So these are all direct use values. You are using the forest directly. Now, what are some of the examples of indirect use values? So, for example, if you live in a valley you live in the valley and there is a forest up on the hill that is preventing the mudslide that to destroy your house, right? So you are utilizing that ecosystem services, but indirectly because you're not in the forest. So that is an indirect use value. But things like flood protection, or we all benefit from the Amazon rainforest, even though it is thousands of miles away, right? Because it sequestrates carbon, right? And it makes our atmosphere cleaner, okay? And so that is valuable to you as an individual. Therefore, you will consider that an indirect use value, right? If you want to estimate it. Non-use values. So, for example, option value, right? So let's take the rainforest again, right? You have not visited yet, but you will like to in the future, right? You would like to use the rainforest in the future. So the fact that you have that option to do so, right? Because if the rainforest is not there, then you have no more options. So, but the fact you have the option to do so, that is valuable, right? Now, whether or not you actually exercise that option is a different story. The fact that you have that option, right, it is valuable, that we call that option value. Bequest value is, suppose that the rainforest is there, you have no intention of ever going there, but you like the fact that it's there because your kids can go there, or your grandchildren who are not born yet can go there, right? Or just the future generation abstractly can go there. Okay, so the fact that it exists and other people can use it, not you, right? But that's valuable to you, not to them, but to you, right? We call that bequest value. That is a bequest value to you. Okay, all right. Now, what if let's take the rainforest again. But what if you don't want to visit it, you never want to visit it, and you don't want anybody to visit it, right? But you like the fact that it is there, okay? That it is valuable to you for the simple fact that it exists, right? Or for example, the polar bear, right? Polar bears are valuable because they exist, right? You don't care about seeing them, you don't ever care about hunting them, right? You just like the fact that they exist. Although that to you, then we will categorize that as existence value. Okay, and I think this pretty much covers every valuation possible, right, for natural resources, right? So I encourage, if for whatever reason, right, that you might value a natural resource that you don't think that fits under one of these categories, right? Let's have a conversation. Send me an email, right? And maybe we should add, right? Maybe we should add a category then. All right. Now, there are 5 valuation techniques, okay? And I'll just say this, there's a common confusion, right? 5 valuation technique does not go one-to-one with the 5 values. It is a coincidence that there is 5 for 5. Right? So for example, right, let's say that I have the rainforest and I want to estimate the direct use value of the rainforest. I could use either the market valuation technique or the review preference technique or the replacement cost technique. Right? I can use all these different techniques to try to estimate the same value. And I am going to get different numbers. Right? If I use the market valuation versus the review preference, I will get very different numbers, okay, depending on which method which method you use. And I can use different methods for the same value. Okay? All right. So that's something that is something to keep in mind. And these are tools. Okay? And as we approach every technique, right, I think a good mindset to fully understand this class is put yourself in the mindset of a lawyer. Right? Imagine that you're trying to argue, and then your client is the environment itself. Right? And so, so which technique should you use? Well, which one that will convince the judge the most? Right? Whichever one that will convince the judge the most, and whichever one that will give your client, therefore the environment, right, the most amount of money. Right? You want the highest value for the things that you care about. Okay, but you have to consider who your audience is. Right? Are these will the people accept these techniques? Right? The individuals that you are presenting these numbers to. Okay. All right. So we will start now with market valuation technique.